This is Holdridge High School Principal Robert Drews welcoming you to the 2017-18 HHS Flipped Orientation. As a student at HHS, hopefully you are watching this with a parent. I will ask that you pay close attention to the images and graphics that you'll see throughout these slides. They'll be important for a little bit of a contest that we're going to have, and you'll learn more about that in the quiz that you have to take to verify that you have gone through this orientation. So let's go ahead and get started. This shouldn't take more than about 25 minutes or so. We do have some new teachers within the building this year again. Mr. Halverson is our new band director. We'll be working at the high school and the middle school. Mrs. Chris Karn is not necessarily new to the district, as she has done some coaching here before, but now will be teaching some business classes at the middle school and at the high school. We have two new paraprofessionals in the district. Mrs. Rawson and Mrs. Billiter will be in the high school this year. And our district has also added another nurse position, and so you will see Mrs. Keegan Anderson in the high school building very often. Now, I do know during the summer, habits can be a little different, and you can get used to sleeping in a little late, but that's probably about time to change. We're going to go back to our regular schedule again, 8 o'clock to 3:37 on Monday through Thursday, or 7 a.m. start if you happen to have a 0-hour class, and on Fridays, 8 o'clock until 1:37. This will be the same schedule as we've had the past few years. We do require that you have a planner with you at all times. That is your attendance record book. If you're gone, you need to stop in the office so that we can stamp that and indicate the reason why. And it's also your pass book to get from class to class if it's not during our passing periods. We have handbooks that have already been emailed out digitally to all of the dusters.org accounts for the students in our building. And in addition to that, this year, I've also sent a digital copy of our handbook to everyone who is on our HHS newsletter email list. We do have the capability of providing you a printed copy if you want, and I'll show you that in just a second. But first, I need to let you know that we have signature page packets that are available for you already now in the high school office. These are the things that we need to have signed and would like them back by August 18th. If you want a printed copy of the handbook, all you have to do is stop in the office and pick up one of these forms. Students sign and parents or guardians sign, bring it back, and we will provide you with a printed copy of this year's Student Parent Handbook. The very first page of the packet that you pick up should have your name printed on the top, and there's a place on the front page to sign for the parent and for the parent or guardian and for the student, just like in the last few years. This indicates that you received a copy of the handbook and you know where to find information within that document. The back side of this sheet has two different places for signatures. The top is for the insurance waiver. If you are comfortable with insurance that you already have at home, simply sign at the top of this. If you have questions about that, feel free to contact the office. And for juniors and seniors only, if you feel like you may qualify for the release period during your study hall, have a parent sign here if you can convince them to do that. We'll get into the details of what qualifies you for a release period a little bit later. There's also a health form within your packet. We need to have these back every year, even if nothing has changed in your health conditions and you mark the very same things that you had marked last year. Nurses will be in the building more often than they have been in the past, but we will not have a full-time nurse yet. All medications that are taken during the school day in the building need to be distributed by the office, so please bring those to the high school office or guidance office so we can document that when you need to take them. If you're behind on any physicals or immunizations, the nursing staff will find you and get that remedied as soon as possible as well. Now it is time to go over a few of the school rules for this year, and I know that maybe that's not the favorite thing for everybody to do, but relax, there's really not any significant changes from last year. All of our rules are based on safety, responsibility, and respect. We want to keep our environment as safe as we possibly can for all of the students and all of the staff. That's not just our responsibility, we see that as being your responsibility as well too. So if you know of something that is unsafe around our building, please let one of the adults know so that we can deal with it. And responsibility, if you remember, I tell all students that means two things for high school here. Number one, be where you're supposed to be on time. And number two, do your work. If you can handle those two elements of being responsible, high school in Holdridge really isn't all that tough. And to define respect, I tell individuals that that means treat other people the way you want to be treated. Our dress code really hasn't changed from the past either. It's based on moderation. We want you to dress for success in the classroom, which means you're coming to school to learn. No clothing that shows too much skin, no clothing promoting the use of drugs, alcohol, or tobacco, nothing with sexual references or double entendres. We do expect that you will take your hats off in the building during the school day, and piercings need to be small enough that they do not disrupt the class day, and tattoos are expected to be covered. Now, I do know that some of you have gotten a year older since we started the last school year, and that means you may be eligible to drive. Well, we want to make sure that when you come to school, you are being safe as possible. We do have a few safety recommendations and some rules that we want you to abide by to help keep our environment safe. The white lines that we have painted on our parking lot are for students. The yellow lines are reserved for staff. The only situation where this is slightly different is in the northwest corner of the parking lot. We ask that you not park in that area, and there are blue lines there as well, because that's where the marching band practices before school and during first and maybe even into second period at the beginning of the school year. After we hit the beginning of November, there won't be any restrictions on that area, but if you are coming to school to start the day and it's before 10 a.m., please don't park in that area because the marching band needs it. We also ask that everybody registers all their vehicles they might drive to school. There's no cost for this. Simply come to the office and Mrs. Perry will give you a sheet. You'll have to fill out the make, model, and license number of your vehicle, and she'll provide you with a sticker that indicates you've registered that vehicle with us. Now, very often, kids get confused about what exactly it is they're supposed to be doing at school. What is your job? Because for 4 years, you go to high school instead of going to a job someplace you would earn a paycheck. Well, your paycheck is learning and growing. We want you to grow and learn about yourself and learn about academics. We want you to have a good idea of what your future has in store for you after you are done with high school. In order for this to happen, you need to be at school on a regular basis, and we have attendance rules that pertain to that. Again, this year we have kind of a sliding scale for attendance. You are allowed 10 absences per class per semester without credit being affected. If you miss more than 10 times, you have to make up time with the high school office or your credit will be reduced. We need to remind you also that if you are leaving the building for any reason whatsoever, you need to sign out in the office, and we have to have a parent or guardian contact for you to leave. Another way we want you to grow and learn is by figuring out how to plan for the future and get ready for upcoming activities. For some of you, organization can be a little bit of a challenge, but we do provide some opportunities to help you with that. Every individual is provided with a locker. We expect these to stay locked during the school day. Please don't rig your lockers. We want you to keep your backpacks in the lockers. You will have enough time to access them between class periods, and the same would be said for gym lockers as well. If you keep these locked up, we are pretty certain that we won't have issues of people getting things stolen. However, if you leave things out in the open or rig your locker, that presents the opportunity for somebody to take things that are not theirs. So if you bring valuables to school, make sure you are locking them up, and we ask that nobody rig their lockers at any time. We do have a cell phone policy in our school, and basically it's a no phone zone during the school day when classes are going on. We know that you are probably going to have a cell phone with you, but we don't want you to have it on, and we don't want you to be using it because it can be distracting. So we've got a policy in place that will help us deal with cell phones. Our cell phone policy is the same as it's been in the past. If a cell phone is turned into the office, you owe a $20 fine to get it back. Repeat occurrences work the same way. We are expecting that you will turn your cell phone off and put it away when you get to school in the morning and not use it in the building until lunchtime in the approved areas only. And then when lunch is over and you head back to class, please turn it off again. And then you can use it in the building after the school day as well. Teachers have the right to request your phone if it goes off, even if it's in a bag or in your pocket, so please make sure your cell phones are turned off. We haven't changed very much with lunch. We still have 2 lunches. We ask that if you are eating in the commons or the hallways, please be very cautious. We don't want to damage any of our flooring. Be good about picking up after yourself. Juniors and seniors have open campus and can leave. They just need to be back by their next class period. 9th and 10th grade have closed campus, and we have made a slight change in this year. Parents can sign 9th and 10th grade students out for an entire semester. They must do so in person or by sending an email to Mrs. Perry in the high school office. We will not accept phone calls. The other change involved in this part is that we are requesting that 9th and 10th grade students who leave for lunch after they have parent permission in our office sign out in the office. So there has been a change in our lunch procedures for this year. We have rules about transportation in our district as well too, and for the most part this really pertains to activities at the high school. But we do have a shuttle that runs around the district, and if you are on a route, there are some forms that you will need to be signing as well. We rely a lot on digital communication at Holdridge High School, and because of that we use a lot of tools that are in Infinite Campus. This is dependent on having accurate information in Infinite Campus. So there will be an opportunity for households to make sure what is recorded in Infinite Campus is the current accurate address and contact information. It also helps us a lot if students have cell phone numbers that are recorded in Infinite Campus as well, because they also can receive texts and information about changes or upcoming events. We encourage everybody to utilize the digital payment option that is available through the parent portal in Infinite Campus. It is immediate and you have a receipt and leaves no doubt about where a check or cash may have gone. So if you have that capability and have not yet taken care of fall fees, we encourage you to research that and perhaps use that as well. We do have study halls scheduled again for this year, most of which are going to be in the cafeteria. These are intended for studying. We request that students bring work. You will have an assigned seat. We will not let you check out to go see other teachers unless there's a pass arranged in advance. For the release criteria, juniors and seniors only, that's pretty simple. If you had a grade below a C, which means C minus would disqualify you, if you had a grade below a C, you would not qualify for the release criteria for this year, or if you still owe time from the previous year, or if we had significant behavior issues from the previous semester. If you meet all of the criteria and your parents have signed off on that, you would be able to check yourself out of study hall using our digital format. The last half of the handbook is our activity handbook. This gives details about the participation fees, academic requirements, and some of our drug and alcohol tobacco policies that are in there. Most of you have heard this already if you've been in the meetings that Mr. Schoeneman has run. There's really nothing different about this during the 17-18 school year as well. If you have changes that need to be made to your schedule, please see Mrs. Freeberg as soon as possible. We would prefer that these changes get made by August 16, but the last date to make changes will be Friday, August 18. I do need to go through a little bit about our computer program, even though most of you have been involved in this for a long time, because we do have a federal responsibility to make sure we're covering these details. We keep using a one-to-one program, in this case with Chromebooks, because we believe that it promotes a lot of efficiency for us and gives us flexibility. It does give you digital practice, and you need to have digital skills if you're going to survive in this world today, and also it promotes idea of responsibility. Each of you has picked up already a parent-student orientation form about our one-to-one program, and those will need to be handed in before we allow you to take your computers home. You more than likely have the same computer you had last year. You'll have a Lenovo or an Acer. It is a very sturdy machine, and if you treat it well, it will treat you well. There's no changes in the email address, login procedures, or our filter system, but please do remember we have a filter here at school as per our federal responsibilities, and there's a filter on your machine when you take it outside as well. Those filters are slightly different, but they still protect you from the various sources that federal authorities have determined we do not want our teenagers to be around. We also have Guardian on the Chromebooks, which allows me to access things that are going on with your machine anywhere and at any time. So parents, if you have questions about how that machine is being used by your student, I can go back and look up history from the beginning of when they received that particular Chromebook. We are using a lot of different digital connections. There's more and more every single year. You'll see Dropbox, Socrative, Kahoot in quite a few classes. We do utilize Infinite Campus, and there are a lot of different Google apps that teachers are taking advantage of as well. If you have issues with your computer, Please don't try to fix things on your own. Bring it to Mr. Larson or our new tech assistant, Mr. Harms. Their office is beside the library. They will handle all software and hardware issues. Sometimes some simple issues can be handled by some teachers or administration, but for the most part, we refer fixing computers to our experts. The last page of the packet that you picked up has a computer loan agreement. There's a place where parents need to sign and students need to sign. On the first page of this, the parent can indicate whether they are comfortable with the student taking the machine home and back to school each and every day, or they want them to leave it at school. If there's something in between those levels, please talk to me and we'll get that figured out. But we need to have these signed and back in the office so that you have access to your computer 24/7. In addition to filtering our machines, we also have to provide a little bit of education about how to be a good digital citizen. And that includes going over a little bit of the policy that you should have picked up on the pink sheets as well. You have access to our network and our email system. If you do something incorrect, we can take those away from you. Cyber behavior also needs to be taught by the school systems as well. We are to teach net etiquette and safety. And in terms of net etiquette, please be polite and courteous to people as you communicate through whatever digital means you happen to be using. And keep in mind safety when you're communicating with people as well. If it's not somebody you absolutely know for sure is on the other end of that machine or the other end of that phone, be cautious in giving out personal information. If you do misuse any of this, this follows our student code of conduct as any other goods or materials or textbooks that are owned by the school. We can use whatever we need to try to fix the situation and move you forward. Some cautions for you. We ask that you keep your computer inside at all times when you're in school. Don't loan it to anybody else. Please don't rig your locker. You are to follow all teacher directions regarding your laptops, and remember, you are responsible for this device at all times. The last page of that pink handout has the sheet that should go on the refrigerator, reminding you of what you should be doing each and every day as a parent or a student in regard to your Chromebooks. For the parents, the most important of these is probably to make sure you are monitoring the use. We do have good filters. We have good systems that can look what's going on with the computers, but nothing is better than a good set of parent eyes and parents paying attention to what the computers and technology is being used for. Student responsibilities include protecting your machine. Please keep it in the sleeve when you are traveling and make sure that nothing happens to it. And probably most important, plug in your computer every night and charge it at home so that you do not need to bring your charger to school and run the risk of somebody else picking that up and taking it home, which would mean you'll have to pay for a new charger. There's a $30 yearly fee that is involved with this program. A waiver would apply if you are on free and reduced and have signed the right forms. A reminder that we don't have student insurance on these machines, so any negligence or intentional damage that results in our computer technicians having to fix something will be your responsibility to pay for. If you've signed the waiver form, you would not have to pay the fee for the computer or for the planner, so please make sure these are taken care of early in the year. Now, I do take a little bit of time every single year to talk to students about attitudes and behaviors and what we're expecting of everybody. And again, I will remind all of our high school students, it's tough to be a grown-up. We expect that there are going to be some mistakes, and when mistakes are made, we will correct them and we will move forward. But a big part of growing up is taking on new responsibility, which can also mean that you might get some new freedoms as well. I do remind everybody that I will not treat all students exactly the same. Our code of conduct allows me to discipline students and provide consequences in such a way that students can learn from their mistakes, grow, and move towards their futures. That means that if somebody has an issue, I may require that they have a meeting with me and their parents, and another student has the exact same issue, might require that they spend some detention time. It provides the opportunity for us to treat each person as an individual, because you all have different skills, different backgrounds, different attitudes, different abilities, and I want to treat you as the person that you are and not simply treat you as a number. I do ask parents, please allow your kids to struggle a little bit. Seeing them struggle and perhaps even seeing them fail on occasion can be kind of painful. I do understand that, but it can also help to promote growth. And students need to learn lessons during these 4 years of practicing to be an adult instead of continuing to struggle with them in adulthood. Failure can be a great motivator. Michael Jordan failed quite a bit. In fact, he was even cut from his JV basketball team. It used that as motivation to make himself better and eventually became a tremendous success. People such as Albert Einstein failed quite a few times before he reached his levels of success. Abraham Lincoln is a well-known failure in many situations. He lost a lot of elections, he failed at a few businesses, but eventually achieved great heights. And even someone like the Beatles experienced failure before they got to their level of success. Please allow kids to figure out some things on their own. Do not be a helicopter parent. Let them struggle a bit, be there to support, but let them learn lessons that they can carry throughout the rest of their life. We want you to be successful. We want you to achieve things. What exactly does this mean? Well, unfortunately, our society today has a bit of a skewed idea of how to measure success. We tend to live in what they call a zero-sum world. The idea of a zero-sum game or zero-sum situation means only one person can win as long as somebody else is losing. The only way I feel better would be if you feel worse. Most of our conflicts and situations are set up in this way, and it's really unfortunate because that does not promote growth and very often doesn't lead to solutions either. There are situations where that is effective. In a basketball game, for example, it wouldn't make much sense if both teams tried to win at the same time and decide they are both going to win. One team has to score more than the other, so there is a winner and a loser. But in most situations and most conflicts, this doesn't end up productively. The best example that we can come up with today that shows us that is how our politicians are behaving in Washington. Unfortunately, they spend so much time trying to defeat the other side, they don't come up with solutions. It's not very effective and it's not very productive for our country. Our goal for you is that you can find ways to connect with each other, to learn how to collaborate, to unite, to respect, to tolerate. If you can find common ground, areas where your interests overlap, you don't have to live in a zero-sum world. It doesn't have to be a winner-loser situation all the time. And last year we began to promote this with the idea of standing as one. Unfortunately, we do live in a society that promotes one person's gain has to mean another's loss, but that doesn't hold true in our idea of supporting each other through all of our different activities and all of the things going on at Holdridge High School. We need to support each other. If you are a football player, you should be supporting the one-act team. If you are a speech team member, you should be supporting the soccer team. A rising tide lifts all boats, and we need to understand that if we can support each other, we can all achieve new heights. This is the conclusion of our flipped orientation for this year. It is time to get started, and we are very excited about the possibilities for this next year. The forms that you need to pick up are available in the office. We would like you to come in and pick those up and complete them, hand them back in as soon as possible. We are excited for another year, and remember, you have the power for a great year at HHS.